today we are following this whole train of thought of this new idea. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to create an interstitial step in teaching you guys about these sort of pleated and folded forms. So all of these 6 elements were cut from a sequential set of sort of strips. The strips are rectangular, which kind of goes against some of the rules that you guys learned for the creation of a sort of a dynamic form in the previous project, that it should not have parallel lines, that it should not have, that the object should not have 90-degree corners. Now, it should become obvious before I go too far that the folds have to stay parallel. But what you see predominantly is the levels that are between the folds. Okay? And so what I want to do with this exercise is to kind of morph this object so that it sort of changes its character. So we're going to start out by putting a piece of trace paper over top of the drawing piece that we have. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and change the shape of some of the pieces of these things to try and alter what the content of that looks like. Now, we want to do it by looking at these. So does the camera see this thing here?
Can see the...
That?
Yes.
It does? Okay. So what I want to do is I want to take a look at this and say, all right, this surface that we're looking at right here is that surface right there. Right? So I want to kind of think about how I could alter that by maybe slicing it diagonally and maybe putting a bit more of a point out here. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this set of folds identically to what it currently is. But I'm going to draw the shape of that roof element so that it is different. So now it's kind of tapering and it's coming to a point. Okay? So I haven't changed the configuration of this at all. And I'm going to leave the middle one exactly as it is. And finally, what I'm going to do with the bottom one is I'm going to do the opposite of that. I'm going to kind of bring it out at a bit of an angle, like that. Okay? So you can see that I should end up with an object that's using the same folds as the first one that I did here, but it should have sort of a different sort of visual character to it. Okay? So after I've done that, the next step is going to be to take my new A, so we'll call this A prime, with a little number 1 up there, okay, and place this thing onto a piece of the cardboard that we've been using. So I'll grab this piece right here, and I'm going to make sure that I know which direction the thing is going in relation to the corrugations. So the corrugations are going this way. So the length of this thing has to kind of go that way also. All right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the little needle thing that I have here somewhere. It's right there. Kind of poke the general shapes of where all these things are. All right? So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Same technique that we just used the other day. Okay, so there's the pinpoints, right? There, there, there. In order to make sure I get straight edges, I'm going to use my little edge thing here to make my cuts. So I'm going to cut that out right now. There's my knife. That's it. All right, so I'm going to move this out of the way and start making my cuts. Okay, so there is this piece. It doesn't seem to have cut all the way through some places. I think my knife is getting dull. Thank you. All right. So following suit with what we had done here, I'm going to put my A in the same place, which is right here, A prime. Okay? And now I've got to make my folds in the same fashion because I'm going to literally set this thing up next to that one. So the first set of folds were done on the back side, right? On this one. So, because we want this thing to fold towards the inside. So I've got to make sure that those little pinholes go all the way through to the other side. 1, 2. And be real careful not to poke yourself while you're doing that. Okay, and so if I set this thing next to this one, I can start to see how it's going to develop. So it comes up and it comes over. And I can see that I'm getting sort of a different shape because the pieces are kind of no longer sort of just strips that are lining up with the one above and beneath it. So there's the first piece like that. Now I've got to do the other one. Those get done on the front side, just like we did the last one. All right, and there is my object that's comparative to this one. Okay, and the same thing applies. I'm going to try and keep my walls angled so that they're angling, and I'm going to try and keep my floors so that they're parallel. So I'm going to go ahead and try to freeze this one up. Yep, already hardened. Goes. All right. So I'm trying to match the angles on that one. So how many minutes am I at?
8, 9 minutes.
9? All right. There's my first set of folds. Now I'll do the second one. Second one, I've got this leaning forward. So try and get that to lean the same way. there is my revised object. If I put the A going in the same direction, I can now compare the two and see what the difference is. Okay? So your task right now is going to be to create this sort of acute, obtuse, obtuse sort of polygon on the first and last levels of each of these triangles as they go along. Okay? You are to do that sort of looking at these objects and seeing where it might work better and where it might sort of be, you know, advantageous or disadvantageous to do it in a certain way. Okay? All right, stop the video.